and that I had an opportunity to meet so many people that were in horror, that were fans of horror, or at least really enthusiastic about stuff. Ken Wiederhorn, who was a director right after Tobe, is an example to me. He used to work on a lot of the Star Wars stuff and was a writer for some of the Star Trek stuff and so forth. And I was like, oh wow, but as soon as I would get together with him, we would immediately start talking about all this stuff that he had done, and he'd talk about stuff that I had done, and it wasn't exactly that way with him. So, but I have to say that there were a couple. He was also up against a DP that was had come from TV. The director of photographer had come from TV, and he had come from soap operas. And because of that, the lighting was blastingly bright all the time. And it was very coupe-like. And I remember that Tobe kind of would kill lights in the little Tobe's Hell, Freddy's Hell section that we would set up. He would kind of work on lighting that himself, and I mean, in terms of working on lighting, I mean, he'd just go around and turn the frickin' things off, and and I had to hand that to him because he did recognize that we were getting light blasted all the time.
Oh yeah, I mean that first episode, especially the courtroom theme. Oh my God, I thought I was watching the episode in the heat of the night. I thought I was watching the heat of the night when I saw it the first time.
I'm telling you something. On that show, you would not have been misplaced as a director to come in with a BB gun and start shooting out lights. I think it would have improved anybody's episode that way. Is somebody doing dishes in the background?
It sounds like Blake is. I thought he was. I don't know what the hell he's doing.
Blake, are you washing dishes, Blake? Again?
No,
Again?
I'm not washing dishes. No.
Oh, okay.
He's in trouble for something, I'm sure.
I didn't do anything. God damn it! I swear, Mick put me through this same shit when we were up there in Vegas, but I loved him for it. It was like he was like my adopted big brother. It was awesome. You should have been there, Travis. He and I were, I was completely drunk, wandering the streets of Las Vegas in a suit and tie, looking for steak. It would have made you proud. I had 2 double rum and cokes and then some vodka.
That sounds beautiful.
Yeah. You should.
So,
but you know what? Hey, if you have a wife as beautiful as she is, and she says to wash the dishes, what do you do?
Washing the fucking dishes, of course.
Wash dishes. Exactly.
See, I do it before she asks. That's how I work in my house.
Well, Lisa doesn't ever have to ask. I'm actually down here trying to, decide if I want to eat something. I got off work late, and I'm kind of trying to decide if I want to eat something while I'm enjoying this great show and this awesome banner, So.
Nick, I was wondering one thing. Okay, so coming into working with Tobe, I mean, were you a fan of his work? Because here I was sitting here thinking, all right, so never meet your heroes type thing, and obviously you did, and maybe it didn't work out the way you'd hoped it did. You hoped it would. Did that kind of teach you something?
Wait. Don't get me wrong though. You have to understand is in the film business, your heroes can, he could be that way. He could be just like Tobe Hooper without any problem, and it wasn't going to denigrate the fact that he did Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, that's we're out there working under stress all the time, and being in Hollywood by itself, just working on films and so forth, it's an incredible stressful thing, and you put forth a persona in order to deal with it, and to a certain extent, I'm sure that a lot of his gruffness and so forth was a certain affectation so that people would leave him alone and let him do what he had to do.
Also, you know, I was okay. So I mean, he was gruff, but I mean, shit. It seems like every time I hear a story about Tobe Hooper working on a film, it's like the worst conditions ever. Texas Chainsaw, and then you were talking about it too. I think I'd be pissed too.
Well, it's true. I mean, we were kind of like the ultimate of a low budget. We were a TV show that was the bastard child of 100 Maniacs. That was the TV show. So I could understand, you know. I remember that we had to work such long hours that I had this a 1954 panel van that was all redone, very, very nice. It was a window van, 1954, right? And it set up pretty high in the air, you know, had big spoke wheels. And I would go out to it at night, and the gaffer, the best boy gaffer, who was probably one of the finest best boy gaffers I had ever dealt with, I had to make sure that he wasn't sleeping underneath my car before I took off, because a lot of the time he was, because the stress and everything would get too much for him, and for some reason he really liked my car, and he'd go out and sleep underneath it. That's the kind of show it was. See, I did for this show alone. We did just shy of 300 sets in 8.5 months in a 10,000 square foot warehouse, where the shooting schedule would say that at the end of shooting every day, and this was on Toby's show too, at the end of the shooting, we would have to clear out half of the stage and rebuild it every night. So
Jesus.
Just, yeah.
Nice, man.
That was what it was like, and you know, the thing is, I'm not saying it was just hard for us, because people had to write it, and people had to light it, and people had to do everything else around it in order to make that happen, and it was a mill. It was tough work.
Sounds like
I've told this story before, that you know how hard stuff was, everything in that first episode. You know, Freddy burst into flames, right? You know, Toby directed that and all the rest of that. Well, the thing is for some crazy ass reason, like every 4 scripts, Freddy would burst into flames, right? Mm-hmm. And we would have to like talk him down from it and say, you know what, we're not ready for another flame gag. You know, that's it, because it's a complete pain in the ass. You know, everybody's got to be super sharp, and you have to like clear the stage, and you know, all the rest of the stuff that goes along with a burn gag. So I remember probably around the 20th episode, the key grip, we would always have a production meeting on Friday, on Thursday, during our lunch period. We would sit down and we would have a complete production meeting and go through the whole script for the episode that was starting Monday of the week past that. So we would sit there and we'd be doing the read through. And I remember that, you know, it was at the very beginning, and the first AD starts the read through, and he goes, and Freddy bursts out into flames, and there was this tired sigh that just goes around the table. Oh, God. And it's absolutely quiet. You could hear a pin drop, and the key grip goes, couldn't he just burst out into song instead?
Freddy the musical.
Yeah, Freddy the musical. Believe me, at that point, he'd burst into flames so many times that would have been probably more interesting. It would have been like a diversionary tactic. So I'll tell you, there is one thing that we did have a blast at. Two things about Tobe. Number one, he did some stuff so right in that episode. If you notice, and I just recently saw it, you notice that we really didn't see Robert. I mean, there was no direct look at Robert. You know what I'm saying?
Very shadowed, yeah.
Yeah, very shadowy. And the weird thing about it is if you noticed, there was nothing in that episode that was shadowed, except for when Freddy was there. You know? And a lot of the time that you were shooting Freddy, I did notice this, and I know that we were prepared for it at the time. A lot of the time, Tobe was shooting. We had a small set that I had done on the side of in the warehouse that we shot all the openings in, and it was a bunch of doorways and in little hallways and stuff that were kind of looked like Dr. Caligari. They were twisted and kind of German expressionistic look with really bright colors, and we kept it really, really dark. And a lot of the times that you saw Freddy in his just real quick shadowy reactions, they shot all those like back in that hallway, which I thought was actually pretty brilliant because, you know, it kind of had a feeling of just twisted angles and tortured perspectives and stuff. And the other thing that we really thought was cool, the other thing that I thought was cool, and even at the time that we had a blast doing, is we made the glove, the dental glove.
Mm-hmm.
There's something to be said about anything that you can sit down and make with switches and 5 vibrator motors.
Oh yeah,
and,
yeah.
Oh, we had a blast attacking each other with that glove all over the place, man. It was a lot of fun.
I wish I still had photos. Mick actually put the one of my gloves from Nightmare 3 on while we were in Vegas and was like flexing it at people as they walked by and dancing with it, and it was the greatest thing ever. And he actually got to do some stand-in work and was actually the wearer of the glove, I believe, for Nightmare on Elm Street 5. So he had a lot of experience with the glove up close.
Oh yeah. No, we played with a lot of times we used to. Usually, if you saw the glove alone and it was sparking on Nightmare on Elm Street 3 or 4, you know, when we were running the sparks on it, I would usually do that because for some reason it freaked out the stand-in. He didn't like the fact that there was electricity involved. So it's like, oh God, do I really have to do that again? So we had a sleeve made that was it was just a sleeve and a glove, and I put the glove on and do the sparks and then go back and actually do my job.
But it just that episode was so amazing, and I think Tobe, you know, for all the stuff that we've talked about him being kind of, you know, antagonistic and standoffish, I think he's one of those artists, you know, and I'm using that word, that it's like, don't disturb me while I'm working. If you disturb me while I'm working, you're going to fuck up everything I've got going on in my head, you know?
Totally. I mean, he wasn't there to talk to people. He was just there to do his thing.
And something else I've noticed from all of his early work, from Texas Chainsaw Massacre up through Life Force, up through Salem's Lot, you know, he did the TV miniseries with David Soul in '79, up through all that, up through Freddy's pilot, you know, the Freddy's Nightmares, No More Mr. Nice Guy, and even beyond, Body Bags and The Mangler, all that stuff. There's a certain style that he has, sort of like with Wes and with George Romero and with John Carpenter, where you can turn on a movie and almost without a shadow of a doubt know that you're watching a Tobe Hooper film. You just know. And I think there's something to be said for artists of that magnitude, yourself included. I mean, obviously, I can look at a a movie. I was looking through my movies the other day, and I saw 8 Heads in a Duffel Bag, and I was like, yeah.